Hi. So, to explain in a bit more depth about Mercury retrograde in Leo and accessing that extra piece of information for your own interpretation of your birth chart, there is, let me try and break this down a bit more. There is the Leo. We all have Leo in our birth charts. Whether or not we have any planets in the sign of Leo is another thing. We might have the Sun in Leo, the Moon in Leo, Venus, Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto. But we also might not have any planets in Leo. I don't have any planets in Leo in my birth chart. It doesn't mean that you don't have access to Leo energy. It just means that that Leo energy isn't a particular focus in this lifetime for you in particular, or for me in particular. But that doesn't mean that we still don't experience the Mercury retrograde in Leo, because Leo rules a whole life area. In the birth chart, we have 12 life areas in total, or 12 birth chart houses, and each one represents a different area of life. So, for example, the first house is body and self and how you meet people for the first time. It's kind of like your Tinder profile. And then your ninth house is higher learning, education, astrology, long distance travel. Your fifth house is children, creativity. Your second house is personal resources and self worth. So they each of the 12 houses has a life area in it. So if you have a particular question or a kind of challenge that you're working through at the moment, or a relationship that you need help with, then you can look to particular birth chart houses to access and like find, okay, where is this issue happening? Have I got an issue with my partner? Then I'm going to look to the seventh house. Have I got an issue with my kids? I'm going to look to the fifth house. Have I got an issue with myself? I'm going to look to the first house. You've located which birth chart house Leo rules for you. We then track through to the planetary ruler, and this is something that we do as we get a bit more kind of into the weeds of astrology and start to really dig deep for extra layers of interpretation for our lived experience. So Leo, all of the zodiac signs are ruled by a particular planet, and Leo happens to be ruled by the sun. So Leo and Cancer are the two zodiac signs. They're next to each other and they're both ruled by the luminaries. So or the lights of the sky. So Leo being ruled by the sun and Cancer being ruled by the moon, the reflection of that light. And therefore, this means that if you then track your sun sign, so you may have the sun in Leo and Leo in your first house, which means you would be a Leo rising, a Leo sun, and the ruler of that house being the sun is in that house, which means that it's just going to be a really particularly powerful time for you over the Mercury retrograde over the next 3 weeks, where the sun and your sense of self, because it's in the first house, is really undergoing a period of revision. Perhaps you're really working on some particular goals at the gym. Perhaps you're working on a new like a new, what's the word, like a new elevator pitch, for when you first meet people and you get like 10 seconds to introduce yourself. What would that elevator pitch sound like? What would you be wearing? How would you come across? What kind of tone of voice have you? For most people, you are going to have the Leo ruled house in your birth chart, which signifies one life area, bringing up lots of specific life themes. So for example, Leo ruling your fifth house, then we know the Mercury retrograde is going to have something to do with children, creativity, romance, joy, how you access pleasure. And then say, for example, the ruler of Leo being the sun, and maybe you've got your sun in, oh my gosh, this is going to test me now, in Virgo in the sixth house next door, then it's going to marry up themes of the Virgo ruled sun. So very Virgoan things. Virgo is a mutable earth sign. So it's all about understanding the world and the information within it, but in a very tangible way. It's about connecting with nature. It's about manipulating material resources. If you're a kind of textile artist, maybe you're doing printmaking and you're taking the print, you're going to print some ink on your stamper and you're going to put that on some fabric, and it is like you're manipulating that fabric and you're changing it and you're bringing information to the fabric to then portray messages to the people that are going to see it. So there's going to be that element brought in of the Virgo sign. So you've got the Leo ruled house, then you've got the sun ruling that Leo house, but that's in the 6th house next door, just in this example. It could be in any other house in the birth chart. So it brings in the sun in Virgo, so it brings in the Virgo themes, but then it also brings in the themes that the 6th house represents, because that's where the sun is sitting. The ruler of this Leo retrograde in your 5th house is your sun in the 6th house. The 6th house ties in its own themes, its own archetype. So the 6th house is all about daily routines, well-being. It's the daily grind, the things that we have to do on a daily basis that don't necessarily feel fun, but we know they've just got to be done. Like if you take medication or supplements, it's like making sure that you take those at the right time every day. It's also making sure that you get enough exercise to keep your body running. Like maybe you don't enjoy exercise, but you do it because you know that it keeps you fit and healthy. Maybe it's going to the gym. Maybe it's meeting up with friends and being sociable. Maybe, usually there's enjoyment from being sociable, but maybe some people see it more as like an act of service to other people, because Virgo is kind of an act of service type zodiac sign. So can you see how you are marrying up so much more information than just the house that in your birth chart that is ruled by the sign Leo? You've got the Leo ruled birth chart house, then you've got the ruler of Leo being the sun, and the sun in whichever zodiac sign, then you've got that zodiac sign ruling a particular house in your birth chart. So you've got 3 pieces of information now that helps you access what would my lived experience be of this. So in this example, with the 5th house and the 6th house being connected, like Leo ruling the 5th house, and then the sun being the ruler of that 5th house in the 6th house, it could be connecting to the health and well-being of your children, the daily routines of your children that need some attention paying to it. Maybe a good example of this, when I was going through a retrograde with my children recently, we'd gotten into this habit where they were always drinking fruit squash instead of water. And when we went through this retrograde, it was a Venus retrograde actually, Venus rules sweet, I decided that I would stop buying squash and that I would just put water on the table every day for them to help themselves to. At periods of time, it hasn't been easy. It's been very 6th housey. Like I've got to keep committing to this change. I'm explaining to them why it's happening and why it's happening now. And eventually they get the idea and they start to understand. I mean, they're a bit older now. They're kind of like 4 and nearly 7. So they are grasping the idea. But it's like going through this process of understanding why something's important for your health and well-being. Yeah, you may rather be drinking squash than water. Maybe it's more fun in the moment, but actually the high levels of sugar make it difficult to go to sleep at night, and water is just really important for overall health, and it's a really important resource that the body gets used to. That was just my kind of example of like how a retrograde might show up and how the 6th house might show up. So hopefully that explains a bit more about this Mercury retrograde in Leo.